Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Jules Rimet Still Streaming. This one is the first one of this kind where we'll be actually previewing a game of football. I've got Charlie with me tonight. Charlie, you weren't on with me and Harry last week, were you? Where we discussed the group stages. Has any of your thoughts of England sort of changed over the last 2 weeks since we were live last?
Not really, to be honest. It is starting to feel a little bit more real now. I think the Champions League final did feel like the sort of cut off of the club season, and now we're at the point where it does feel like all focus has turned to the World Cup, both in the media and for the players. But yeah, I'd have to say, my thoughts on the squad have maybe tempered slightly because I've realised that actually, while yes, there are some players that probably should be there, they're not within the top 14, 15 players that I would have said had to be there in the squad anyway. So they wouldn't have made a huge difference. I'm pretty happy with the squad. Um, Watching some of the other teams play, like I've seen clips of France playing, for example, in their friendlies, has been a bit scary. Some of them look really good. And so that's a bit nerve-wracking. But overall, my thoughts about England and the squad and our hopes haven't really changed massively, to be honest.
Well, as is always the way with live TV or live YouTube or Twittering, we've come up with a direct clash because Thomas Tuchel's just gone live for his press conference. I was hoping that we'd hear from him before we went live. It said that he'd be there after lunch. Now, I think that they're 5 hours behind in America, so it's certainly a late lunch. That must be 3 p.m. So, annoyingly, we won't have that to talk about, but we do have plenty that we want to discuss tonight. Shall we start with New Zealand tomorrow? That's obviously the big talking point. Obviously, New Zealand lost in the week to Haiti 4-0, who are, I think that they were 83rd in the world rankings. They moved up to 82nd after that win, and New Zealand are 85th. So, in terms of what England can expect from that game tomorrow, I'm going to be honest. It should be a walk in the park, but in true England fashion, I'm sure that we will make it as difficult as possible. Charlie, have you got any screaming thoughts on the game tomorrow?
Not really about the game. I think it's the right kind of opposition to sort of ease yourself into. I did not expect New Zealand to lose 4-0 to Haiti. Like, I thought they would be a bit better than that. So that is worrying for them, I guess, but doesn't really make an impact for England. I think I'm expecting to see the full extent of the squad used, including maybe even the players that aren't within the squad but have been brought along, like Alex Scott. I think those players will be used in these friendlies. I think it will be giving very little away tactically, to be honest. It's going to be more of a fitness exercise than anything else. Wouldn't expect to see any inventive set pieces or any sort of tactical nuances that we haven't seen before from Tuchel's England. I think that will be saved for, well, maybe the group stage or maybe even later on in the competition, the really advanced stuff. It is purely sort of a fitness exercise, and it should be good. I do have concerns about the pitch, which I'm sure you'll be able to bring up. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a sweltering day as well, because it's 9 o'clock kickoff our time, so it's a Saturday 3 p.m. in America, which is, it can be very, very warm. But we need to get used to this climate at some point. The players have been training in it all week, so yeah, it should be a good test.
Yeah, so let's talk about the pitch first because we have got some photos of New Zealand training on it, and I think that if my knowledge is correct, it's one of those like drop and play pitches. Now you can see sort of where the 18-yard box starts there straight away. That you can see the lines, like the turf hasn't bedded in. There is a wider shot of the pitch where again you can sort of see that it doesn't look like it's quite stitched together. And I pulled up this photo specifically because I wanted to ask, what the bloody hell is going on in these American stadiums? Why is there a ship in the background of this stadium? So, looking ahead to tomorrow, like you said, Charlie, I think that there's going to be a lot of like the squad options that get minutes tomorrow. I would be surprised if we saw Tuchel going full strength purely because, I mean, you look at that pitch, that's an accident waiting to happen, isn't it? I also factor in the, well, I think that we'll probably see James Trafford get some game time tomorrow because Henderson only joined the squad today or yesterday, I think it was. And the Arsenal players still aren't with the squad at the moment. So that's 5 players, I think it is, that are already ruled out of the squad tomorrow. So we've got those 4 that are there training, and one of them is a goalkeeper as well. But I think we've got to go. We've got to go and get a result, haven't we? And like we've said previously before on this podcast, is that England should be good enough, even with 3rd, 4th, or 5th string 11s, to get past New Zealand, especially having seen their results. It's going to be more about making sure that they are acclimatized to the heat. And I also saw some comments in the week that actually the group games that England have got probably aren't going to be too testing. It will be the later stages where they start to see the impact of earlier kickoffs, more sunlight, stadiums that are just open to all of the sunlight and the elements. So, Chaz, any thoughts on tomorrow and what England should bring?
Well, I've just checked the weather forecast, and it is going to be it peaks at 35 degrees in Tampa tomorrow, and that is at the exact time of kickoff. So 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. for that 2-hour spell, it's going to be 35, which is hot, very hot. I mean, it's good that you say we need to get a result, because I do agree. You think about our last internationals, and although it doesn't ever feel like you really have form internationally when it's not a tournament because there's so long between the games, the last sort of internationals back in March were so disappointing. 2 home games, a 1-1 draw with Uruguay and a 1-0 loss to Japan, that it would be nice to sort of get some convincing victories under the belt before the World Cup. New Zealand, obviously, tomorrow should be an easier game. Expecting Costa Rica to be slightly tougher after New Zealand, but nothing too taxing. And yeah, you get 2 big wins there. You then go into Croatia feeling a little bit more comfortable. I think as much as, that pitch doesn't look the best, I think we will play on worse and more sort of risky, because you've also got to realize that sometimes how pitches look can be deceiving. Like, it's very difficult to fully get the measure of a pitch from photos, because there'll be pitches in the US that have been laid specifically for this World Cup that look absolutely incredible, but because they have just been laid, are actually, an ACL injury waiting to happen. So I do worry for injuries in this World Cup, because it's not like England, for example, where if we were hosting a World Cup this summer, it would be on Premier League pitches that are absolutely perfect and have been sort of cultivated for years and years going into the tournament. I have concerns about it, but I think no injuries and get some minutes into the legs is the most important thing for tomorrow. And I think it literally is going to be a case of, even if you see a player look at you funny, if you're the physio, you're saying to Thomas Tuchel, just get him off, do not risk it, because we cannot afford to be getting injuries to key players in basically meaningless friendlies.
Yeah, and I think that New Zealand will probably take the same approach. They made 10 changes across the second half. There was a few at half time, and then I'd assume that the 3 windows of substitutions isn't a thing in friendlies, because they've literally made 10 subs, and there's a different minute for pretty much all of them. Obviously, we are Peterborough United fans. We know one of the players, but let's not talk about Matthew Garbutt just yet. Let's talk about the only other real players that I would say. And of course, they've got Ben Waine from Port Vale, Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest, and then what's the other guy's name? That, the one that's gone viral? Oh yeah, Tim Payne. Chaz, have you kept up with this Tim Payne story at all?
It's very TikTok, isn't it? Like, it's just something that is very atypical of my generation. It's the part of my generation that makes me proud, because I do find it quite funny. The fact that this guy basically just said, let's just pick a random footballer, and just make him the main character of this World Cup. And you know what? It's great for the TV, because I think there will genuinely be people watching New Zealand games to hope that Tim Payne performs. I don't know whether Tim Payne is a particularly notable player for New Zealand, to be honest. I've not done research into it that much. But yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, basically, this guy, he's an influencer. He said, I'm going to pick a random footballer and we're all just going to support him, regardless of what happens at this World Cup. And it was Tim Payne of New Zealand. He's a right back. He's 32 years old. He plays for Wellington Phoenix. He played a full 90 against Haiti in the week. So whether he'll play again, another full 90
He
tomorrow.
definitely didn't. He only played the first half.
Footmob's lying to me then. Footmob's got him as 90 minutes.
Well,
oh yeah, Footmob doesn't have any of the subs. That is true.
yeah.
But Wrexham do have a few other, not Wrexham, New Zealand do have a few other good players, including the Wrexham left back, Kache. They've got him. They've got Tyler Bindon, who is a centre back who played for Reading and then went to Nottingham Forest and then got loaned out to Sheffield United last season. So they've got okay players. They're probably about, I reckon it'll be a good game between them and Oxford United right now. I reckon that's the level that we're putting them at personally.
Well, I mean, if that's the level, then crikey, I think that there's no concerns going into the game anyway, is there? All that we can hope is the 11 or up to 22 realistically players that take to the field, get some minutes in their tank. It is hot, so that they can get used to that and they know what it's like to play in that sort of heat. But more importantly, they get used to the new rules that FIFA are imposing for this World Cup, which I assume will be active in tomorrow's friendly. Chat, should we pull the ticker up across the bottom? Are you doing it or am I?
I'll pull it up.
Okay, you pull it up because
these
otherwise...
are the rules.
So, are you going to run through them? Come on, you go, Mr. Referee.
I'll go through them. So, confirm new rules, and just before I run through them, I think all of these are very sensible. But you've got the throwing countdown of 5 seconds. So, if a player deliberately delays the restart of play, the throw can be given to the opposition. The same thing with goal kicks. If a goalkeeper's taking too long to take a goal kick, the ref has the power to award a corner. Players have 10 seconds if they've been substituted to leave the pitch at the nearest point. Can't wait to see that one not enforced at all. But unless they're obviously injured and need to hobble off, in which case I assume something will be done to save them. But if the substitute does not takes longer than 10 seconds, the team must play for 10 players for another minute, at least a minute, at the referee's discretion. It's the same rule with players who are treated by the physio must stay off for 60 seconds unless there's been a tackle that has been punished by a booking or a sending off on them, or they're a goalkeeper. One that is very interesting, well, it's not that interesting, but it's probably a good thing, is if a player covers their mouth while talking to an opposition player in a confrontation, then they can be sent off straight away, which is, I guess, because of some of the racist incidents that we've had in football. And obviously players go like this. And one of the main things of evidence you'd use is the cameras. But obviously if they go like this, you can't see what they've said and you don't have the evidence to punish. Corners can be checked by VAR. Apparently it has to be done quickly. Now, knowing VAR, that will not be done quickly, but every corner is allowed to be checked by VAR. I assume most of them will be pretty conclusive though. And a second yellow card can be reviewed. So let's say a player is sent off a foul on the halfway line and it turns out the other player dived. That can be reviewed, but second yellow cards cannot be checked if they haven't been given. So you can't see a tackle that you think, oh, he should be given a second yellow for that. The VAR aren't allowed to check that and recommend a second yellow. They're only allowed to rescind second yellows. So I think all of those will make sense. Puts power in the hands of referees when it comes to time management, which is something that has been called for by a lot of people for a while, because, if you're a goalkeeper and there's 30 seconds left in a World Cup game and, you're taking a goal kick and the ref says, hurry up, you are just going to take a booking, aren't you? But if you know that it's going to result in a corner being given, well, you're not going to time waste. Ash, thoughts on all of those?
I think my only concern is of course, the enforcement of these rules. Like, is every ref, as soon as the ball goes out and the ball's in obviously it's not when the ball goes out, is it? It's when the ball's in the player's hand, but the player's still got to get there. And if the player knows that he wants to time waste, well, he's just going to dilly-dally over the ball, isn't he? And take his time to stroll across from, if it's your right back that's playing right back and then it's 15 metres further up the pitch, he's going to take his time, isn't he? And then, yeah, of course, once the ball in hand is there, then the 5-second countdown starts. But it's just the enforcement. And you know what referees are like in the World Cup. And with the expanded format, there's even more referees that I don't want to say they want to make themselves the centre of attention, but we've definitely in previous cup, like World Cup competitions and Euros as well, we've seen referees that have got main character energy that know that they're on the centre stage, and you know that like England games are going to have them where they know that we're English, like Croatia, for example. We're probably going to, I don't know, have the referees been announced yet for games? We're probably going to end up with an African referee or a South American referee because it's two European teams against Croatia. The result of that is that they know that they're on the biggest stage of them all, and they've got the whole of the country watching them and the whole of Croatia as well. So I think that it will be important that the referees set the standard, but it's more important to make sure that it's level across all games. And I wouldn't want to see some things being penalised. And then it's no different to how the game is now, right? Like you talk about handballs and you talk about like fouls, and every referee's got a different level. Hopefully, because these are new rules, and although it's a longer tournament, hopefully there's that level playing field where every ref has the same expectations and they all sit there in their meetings and make sure that they're all on the right level. Like, okay, well, if the player's taking too long to get to the ball, well, actually, we're going to overturn it anyway. Like, even if it's not 5 seconds, like if they take longer than 5 seconds, that's kind of the thing that probably needs clarifying for me. Do they have 5 seconds to get to the ball? Do they then have 5 seconds to then take the throw? Who knows?
Yeah, and it's another one. Like, I remember a clip of Dorking Wanderers a few seasons ago where the ref basically made a massive error by the ball went out. They thought that they had a throw in on the halfway line. Turns out that the throw in was basically 20 yards back from that. But on the halfway line, they would have their centre mid taking the throw in, whereas 20 yards back from that, they'd have the right back taking the throw in. So the ref sort of pushed them back, and then because their right back then had to come in and like take it, it took ages, and basically ended up with a player getting sent off. And I just hope that we don't have any of that miscommunication. Also, you know, what about when a goalkeeper goes to take a drink when he's going to get the ball, going for a goal kick? You know, that's often what a goalkeeper will do. When he's got a goal kick, he knows that, you know, the ball's not going to come his way, so he'll go behind the goal and he'll take a drink. And the only other concern with the World Cup, well, the thing is, I always assume that like all the referees can just speak English, and that all the players can speak English, but that's not necessarily true. So these new rules, I just hope that they're communicated very clearly with the players, and that the referees have effective ways of communicating them on the field too. Because, you know, if you're a player for Costa Rica and you've got an English ref shouting at you, hurry up, you know, you're not going to necessarily fully understand that. And when it's loud and you can't necessarily hear what he's saying, it could end up with some pretty bad moments. Hopefully it doesn't, but I do think they're all good rules. I've always like felt this about time wasting. Like there's no real threat to getting bookings, especially late on in games, whereas there will be hopefully a lot less time wasting at this World Cup, which is good. But we will see whether it actually transpires that way.
I just think for me that the time wasting thing is just kind of like it's a half step to what I've mentioned before when we've spoken about this with Posh, is that if the ball goes out of play, just stop the clock. Like change the game that way. That's the change that should be made. And until the player throws the ball back in, the clock doesn't start ticking. Now, of course, that's going to slow the game down and is going to make games longer. But you wouldn't play a 90-minute game then. You play a 60-minute game. And you say every time the ball goes out for a goal kick, every time it goes out for a throw in, you have the fourth official, or you probably have to have a fifth official, but it wouldn't really need to be a fifth official. It would just need to be somebody with they have a chess where they press the button and then it stop and starts the time. You have somebody like that, and it's kind of like a half step. Like football's not ready to accept that it needs to change dramatically to stop time wasting. That's kind of the way that I see it at the moment.
Yeah, I think for me, I hate when that idea is always said to me, I always hate it. Like I just there's something about it, and I think it is just like it's such a change to the fundamental of the sport, you know? Like it's like if they said, "Oh, we're now going to play with 12 players instead of 11." Like everyone would be like, "Oh my god, what has happened to the game I love?" And I think it's just the fact that it is such a change to the core and the sort of the heart of the game that maybe that's why I'm hesitant about it, because all of the the sort of logistical parts of me go, "Yeah, that's a great idea. It makes complete sense." I mean, the only thing that obviously that is not necessarily transferable between the levels. Like, are you going to be able to, in the third tier of non-league football, have consistent timekeeping where you have a fourth official and a fifth official? Are you going to be like that's where it's going to become tricky. Where does that where does that level of football begin? And then it makes the step up between levels even more difficult, because you could go from 1 year playing in a 60-minute game, a 90-minute game, and the next year playing in a 60-minute game with breaks, and it all becomes very, very strange. So, yeah, I think that is something that could be looked at. But I genuinely think this set of rules will massively change time wasting, like massively, massively change it. I just don't see I just can't see goalkeepers taking the risk. Like, I really can't. Like, you'd rather just hoof the ball and get it as far away from your goal as possible than even risk a corner being given against you for no reason. Like, I just cannot see a world where they go, you know what, I'm going to play it right to the borderline. And I honestly think you'll see goalkeepers taking goal kicks much before the 5-second threshold, just so that they don't even give the referee a decision to make. They just do it. So I think these will basically, well, stamp it out, to be honest.
Yeah, and I was going to say something, Chaz, about the goalkeepers. I think that. Do you think that it will have an impact on? I'm sure that Thomas Tuchel has said specifically that England want to be good at set pieces. Now, of course, every team wants to be good at set pieces, but we know that England have got a good track record in, was it Russia, the World Cup? We scored just tons of goals, didn't we, from corners and set pieces. Do you think that the goalkeeper knowing, right, okay, well, this team's a threat from set pieces, I need to get rid of it, will have more of an impact than, let's say, a team? I can't give you a team that's poor at set pieces, but I'm sure that the scouts and the tacticians will all work that out. Actually, I'm more willing to take a risk because I'm confident that we can deal with their set piece threat.
I mean, I think it depends the time frame within the game, because like in the 95th minute, they're going to throw everyone into the box regardless, so doesn't really make a difference. I'd say this rule massively benefits teams with big lads at the back, would be my argument, because if you're forcing the goalkeeper to kick it quickly and kick it long, that suits big lads at the back who can just win the header and recycle possession and get their team going forward again. And then the alternative for that for a goalkeeper is to give you a corner, and the big lads from the back can come up and attack the corner. So I think that it suits teams with big defenses. Thanks for not bringing Harry Maguire again, Tommy. Appreciate that. But yeah, I think
you said you were happy with the squad at the start. You can't start saying that.
No, I said I was happier. I still think Maguire's been absolutely robbed. Maguire's the one that upsets me the most, to be honest. I don't really care about Foden and Palmer. Although it has been embarrassing this week, seeing all the promotional footage for the World Cup come out from like Nike and stuff, and Palmer's in all of it. And like the videos that like the Premier League filmed, and like loads of outlets filmed with players that they thought were safe within the squads. So like you had like Cherky for France, and then poor Cole Palmer for England, who didn't get the call up. It's a bit embarrassing, I have to say.
Well, I mean, Cherky's embarrassed himself, hasn't he, this week? I've seen a photo of him looking like he shit his pants on the steps of it must be the French Prime Minister. Have you not seen the photo, Chaz?
No.
Oh my goodness, Phil! I'm going to find the photo. Talk about let's move. Tell you what, a relatively good. It's not an exciting thing. Talk about the water situation in the stadiums, because that's a shambles. Whilst I find this photo,
yeah, that's outrageous. As you've seen, I've been sipping from my big bottle of water, my big bottle of Buxton water. Not a promotion, not a sponsorship, but I have been nonetheless throughout this episode. If I was at the World Cup, this my friend would not be allowed to come in with me. I think it's genuinely one of the most disgraceful things that FIFA have ever done. Like, the prices of tickets are one thing, and that they've done some pretty embarrassing things over the last year. The ticket pricing, the halftime shows, the giving Donald Trump the FIFA Peace Award, like all of that has been pretty poor. But this is one of them things that you just look at and go, well, that's just scummy, isn't it? You're basically, if anyone's managed to avoid it over social media this week, fair play. I will come and join you under your rock. But you can't bring a plastic water bottle into World Cup games.
But rewind. You can't start telling people that they live under rocks when you've not seen jerky. I'm going to pull it up now. I simply cannot believe, and I apologize for anyone that's listening to this. I can't believe that you've not seen that, because
Why
it literally just
like that?
turned into a total meme. Where there's no explanation for it, and I've seen a video clip of him where he's had a giggle over it, but I just don't understand how he's ended up in that position.
I mean, that is actually ridiculous. That is one of the most auralist things I've ever seen in my life. What is he doing?
And you think about, like,
I feel like
there's no player. I'm just concerned here that Chinese. Oh, you're back. You froze for a second there, and I thought that you were going to drop off because you've been downloading stuff again today and your day off from uni. But no, you're good. There's people that you would expect to look like that, right? But the performances that he's put in the Prem this season, it just looks like normally you'd be full of like aura and just vibes. And then he's just totally stitched himself up by standing like that. And I can't even, like, you look at the picture, I'm going to pull it up again. You can't even, like, if he stood up properly, he wouldn't even be blocking the lady that's behind him, surely.
That's the only thing I can think of, is that he was scared that he'd be blocking whoever that lovely lady in the red jacket is, because I just don't understand why you would choose to stand like that, especially because France, I'd say, are one of the World Cup squads that have the most sort of like aura, and all the other players are stood confidently with the president chest out, ready to go, and then there's poor little Ryan who's sort of crouching in the corner. Back onto water. Basically, you're not allowed to bring in refillable water bottles, so you have to buy water in the stadium, which is ridiculous. People have already spent like $700 on a ticket minimum. Most of them probably spent more than that, and you have to buy, on top of that, you have to buy your own water. It's just silly. Like, I assumed that they would have refillable, especially because it's going to be so hot. Like, I could understand them not making provisions for refillable water bottles if it was England in December, because you don't really want to drink a load of water, but it's going to be a World Cup where you need water. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't wonder if FIFA will reconsider that. But then again, I don't know whether they are just a complete void. As an organization, it feels like they are probably one of the least likely to listen to fan feedback in world football. Like, they just seem to do whatever they want with Infantino at the wheel.
And what I would be interested to know, actually, is if, obviously, friendly tomorrow for England, if they're using this water bottle rule where England are playing, all it takes is one person to pass out at that game tomorrow, and then there'll just be uproar. Like, couldn't afford a bottle of water, or the line was too long, or they faint. Let's say that they faint in the queue to buy a bottle of water. All it takes is that to happen once, and then I can't see by the time that the World Cup comes around that there won't have been a full U-turn on this decision. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I mean, there is just no way. Bizarre.
Yeah, if you're an England fan and you're listening to this and you're going to the game against New Zealand tomorrow, and you want to do a cheeky little fake faint in the queue just so that we get it being media, you will get applauded by me for that. But that is all it takes, isn't it? One person to be needing water and not be able to get it, or somebody who can't even afford to buy a bottle of water, because it's not as if you can buy a bottle of water in the stadium and refill it. Like, you imagine in that heat, if I was in that heat watching the game, I drink quite a lot of water when it's hot. Like as you can see, like I get through. I probably fill this up like 5 or 6 times a day, and that's when it's like I'm just in my uni-econ room. If in that heat, I reckon I'd need 3 or 4 bottles of water a game minimum. Like I'd get one before the game for like the hour that you're in the seats watching the warm-ups and stuff. I'd probably then get another one for the first half, another one for the second half, and I might have to even go, if it goes to extra penalties, there's no way I'm not getting another bottle of water for that. So not only do I have to spend that much time out of my seat in queue waiting for water, just buy it. Like, and how much is a bottle of water? I bet it's going to be something ridiculous. Like, it's not going to be anything less than $5, is it? It's going to be that price, maybe even more. So you're then asking someone to spend an additional, basically $20 minimum on water. If it's a family, you're expecting them to spend $80 on water. It's just crazy. Like, it's ridiculous that a World Cup in America, a country that is supposed to be like one of the leading sort of most forefront developed nations in the world, are charging you for water. Water. Like, it's actually mental.
Yeah, crazy. Let's not hash the point too long. The final thing, Chaz, that I want to talk to you about, I think that Harry and I mentioned it last week, is obviously expanded format, more groups, but also a round of 32 now. Somebody, a very clever man, who I'm going to pull up on screen, has done so basically what the tweet says is he simulated the World Cup 100,000 times, and one thing is already clear about the new 48 team format. So if you get 6 points, you're guaranteed to qualify. If you get 4 points, you've got a 99.8% chance of qualifying. That is literally a win and a draw. So I think that's probably fair. 3 points. 3 points is a 67% chance. I had to put this back on screen and then 2 points, there's a 5% chance. So firstly, 3 draws or 1 win, you've got a 67% chance of qualifying. And then 2 points, literally 2 draws and a loss, gives you a 5% chance of qualifying. And what the comment that's sort of blocked out by our banner at the bottom says that you could finish with 3 points and a -2 goal difference, and that gets you through more often than not. Charlie, do you think that an expanded World Cup is the right thing?
Yeah, why not? Getting 1 win and that giving you a 67% chance of getting through is just, I don't know. It means that there's potentially more magic. You might have like a record-breakingly. Like, think about Curacao, right? If they get a 1 win and they get through, and then knockout football is just crazy, isn't it? Like, and then anything can happen. You could end up with Curacao in the final. I think it's going to be great for the small nations. Obviously, I'm not predicting Curacao are going to get to the final, but that massively increases their chances of getting to the final or getting further into the knockouts. Why would you not want more nations having knockout games? At the end of the day, the better nation should still win. This does not affect England's chances of winning the World Cup in the slightest. All it does is give you an extra knockout game against someone who's probably going to be relatively easy. But like, let's say something weird happens and we end up meeting a sort of top 8 nation in the round of 32. Well, you were going to meet them anyway. So has that decreased your chances of winning the World Cup? Probably not. Like, realistically, probably not. So I think the fact that teams can get through, teams getting through on 2 points is a bit crazy. Like, you haven't won a game in the group and you've still got through. I cannot wait to see Scotland still not make it out their group when all they need is 2 points. That is going to be very funny. But
you've beaten me to the bit, Charlie. I was going to say that small teams like Scotland shouldn't make it through because they're shit. But yeah, I mean, if Scotland don't manage to get, who have Scotland? I don't want to talk about Scotland too much, but who have they actually got in their group?
They've got Brazil, Morocco, Haiti. So Well, Haiti looked good against New Zealand, so that
Haiti
could be
did look
tough.
good against New Zealand, yeah. So there is a chance that Scotland go home with 0 points. I hope that engine on that plane is still running, because there's a chance that realistically Scotland ain't getting anything from Brazil. Morocco are not mugs either. I think that I've seen some people that have sort of said, "Well, Morocco are like a dark horse," but are they really a dark horse? Like, we discussed in one of the group chats that were in, Charlie, didn't we? That they got to the semi-final of the last World Cup. They've won, in quotation marks, the African Cup of Nations. They're not that bad of a footballing nation. I think that there's a chance that they could progress quite well in this competition again.
Yeah. Oh, you've just baited me into doing Morocco Scotland combined 11 once we leave, because I genuinely don't know how they compare. They've got some good players, Morocco. You look at like players like Hakimi. I like a couple of their centre backs like that Riyadh that plays for Palace. Naif Aguerd, Sofiane Amrabat. They've got some good players. Brahim Diaz, obviously, of Real Madrid. Talbi, who was very good for Sunderland this season. So they've got some good players, Morocco. Scotland should be okay, because the thing that might mess Scotland up is that goal difference. He said that you need a -2 goal difference and 3 points. Because I could see them. I think they'll beat Haiti. They should beat Haiti. But if they lose to both Morocco and Brazil, and I assume they'll lose quite heavily to Brazil. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, the good thing for Scotland is, and I think we have discussed this potentially, is that, did we discuss this on the first one? That their last game of the group is against Brazil. So there's a chance that Brazil have already got 6 points and guaranteed their spot, and so rotate for that one. Whereas Morocco obviously play Brazil on when they'll be full steam ahead trying to qualify. But if Scotland don't make it out their group, then there's just no point in them going to World Cups anymore, to be honest. But yeah, back to the actual point, which is about the format. I think it's a good format, because why would you not want more clubs in the World Cup for longer? And also, anybody who supports a team that has a player at the World Cup, why would you not want that, $11,000 a day or whatever it is, for a bit longer, because the team stays in the competition for a bit longer, and the nation has your club's player for a bit longer. So I think it benefits everyone, really.
Yeah, I think Braintree got a New Zealand player at the World Cup, so they are literally, yeah, like you say, getting 11 grand a day. That's for non-league teams. If you can scrape a player in, that is like season-changing sort of money, isn't it?
I mean, it's big. Even as posh fans, it's big for us, isn't it? Like 250k, let's say, for Garbett for his time at the World Cup. That is like the equivalent of us selling basically one of our lower level squad players. The equivalent of that. So it's not money to be scoffed at all.
Yeah, pretty crazy that we're going to get more money from Garbett being at the World Cup than we will for Abraham Ode. But this is not the podcast for that. Are we done, Chaz? Are we wrapping up? Have you got anything else you want to discuss?
Not really. Oh, everyone was kicking off about Declan Rice being number 4, as if he hasn't been number 4 for his entire England career. People saying it looks weird. I think number 4 is a decently normal number for a CDM.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard wore number 4 like for years, did he not? Like, am I making that up? Or at least it's number 4 is a midfielder's number. Number 5 and number 6 are the centre back numbers. Argue amongst yourselves. We could be here all day, but the problem is that a lot of these things only work in 4-4-2s, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, your 9 and your 10 are your strikers, your 11 is your left mid, 7 is your right mid, and then you got your 4 and your 8 in the centre midfield, and then obviously the rest of the pitch is, it's only the defence, isn't it? But we digress, Chaz. Let's get out of here. Harry's not here, so I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not doing that outro. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, or wherever it is that you consume your podcasts, and you want to head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to us, that would be fantastic. Please do leave your comments on Spotify or on YouTube. It's much appreciated. This is a slow-moving project for us here at Up the Podcast. And as we move into Jules Rimet Still Streaming, let's just see where it goes. Fingers crossed, eh? Well, with that said and done, I hope everybody enjoys their Friday, Saturday. Fingers crossed England get a good win, and we will see you in the next one.